She hid their only son from her billionaire CEO, until the boy demands his life-saving DNA match. "Mom, am I going to die?" The 12-year-old boy's voice was steady despite the question that hung in the sterile hospital air. His mother's fingers froze mid-stroke through his dark hair, her heart stopping at words no parent should ever hear. "Because if I am," he continued, his brown eyes, so like his father's, meeting hers with unnerving clarity, "I think I deserve to know who my dad is first. Not just stories. The real him. Have you ever kept a secret so long it became a part of you? A secret you believed was protecting someone you loved more than life itself? Imagine the moment when that very secret becomes the thing that might cost your child their life. When the only person who can save your son is the man you've hidden him from for 12 years, a billionaire who never knew he had a child. This is the story of 3 lives forever changed by one woman's choice. A desperate mother forced to reach out to the powerful ex who has no idea he fathered a child, a successful man whose carefully constructed world crumbles with one phone call, and a remarkable boy caught between them, fighting for his future while uncovering his past. If you've ever faced an impossible choice or wondered about the roads not taken in your own life, stay with me. This story will make you question everything you thought you knew about protection, forgiveness, and what it truly means to put someone else's needs above your own. Hit that like button now if you believe some secrets are meant to be revealed, even when the truth hurts. Dr. Morales closed Lucas's medical file with a gentle but definitive motion that sent Olivia's heart plummeting. The oncologist's compassionate eyes met hers across the desk, steady but grave. "Ms. Abernathy, we've exhausted all options on the National Registry." Her voice remained professional, but the gravity in her eyes told Olivia everything she didn't want to hear. "Lucas needs a familial donor. The closer the genetic match, the better his chances." Olivia stared at her son's medical file on the doctor's desk, the words, "severe aplastic anemia," in bold clinical type that couldn't begin to capture what those 3 words meant for her 12-year-old boy. Her brilliant, creative, kind-hearted son who spent his days creating detailed sketches of imaginary worlds and reading books far beyond his years. "What about extended family?" Olivia asked, though she already knew the answer. Her parents had died years ago in a car accident, and she was an only child. "We've tested everyone you've provided." Dr. Morales leaned forward, her silver-framed glasses catching the fluorescent light. "Your cousin Martin was our best hope, but at only a 50% match, the risks are significantly higher than we'd like to take given Lucas's current condition." Olivia's heart hammered against her ribs. There was one person left, the one person she'd spent 12 years carefully avoiding. The man who didn't know he had a son. "There is, his father," she whispered, the words feeling foreign in her mouth. Dr. Morales straightened in her chair, renewed hope flickering across her face. "The biological father would be our best option. A parent is typically a half-match, but sometimes they're perfect matches. Why hasn't he been tested yet?" Olivia smoothed an invisible wrinkle from her worn jeans, buying time. "We're not in contact. He doesn't know about Lucas." Understanding dawned in the doctor's eyes, but to her credit, her expression remained neutral. "I see. Well, I need to be clear about Lucas's situation, Ms. Abernathy. Without a transplant, his condition will continue to deteriorate. The transfusions are temporary measures at best." "How long does he have?" The question nearly choked her. "With continued supportive care. Perhaps 6 months. But his quality of life will decline significantly as we go forward." Dr. Morales's tone softened. "Olivia, I know this is difficult, but reaching out to Lucas's father could be his best chance." Olivia nodded, her thoughts racing. Gabriel Donovan. Billionaire tech CEO. The man who'd walked away from her 13 years ago to save his company, never knowing she carried his child. "I'll contact him," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "The sooner the better. If he's willing to be tested, we can determine compatibility within days. As she left the consultation room, Olivia's mind traveled back 13 years to when she'd first met Gabriel. She had been 26, a promising artist commissioned to create installations for Donovan Tech's new headquarters. Gabriel had been 31, already worth billions after revolutionizing data security technology. Their attraction had been instant and overwhelming. Against her better judgment, she'd fallen hard for a man whose face regularly appeared on business magazines and whose schedule was managed by 3 different assistants. For 6 glorious months, they'd existed in a bubble of passion and possibility. Until everything collapsed. Ms. Abernathy. A nurse approached as Olivia reached the hospital entrance, pulling her from painful memories. Lucas is asking for you. Pushing thoughts of Gabriel aside, Olivia followed the nurse to her son's room. Lucas looked smaller than his 12 years against the white hospital sheets, his once vibrant brown skin now pale, dark circles shadowing his eyes. But those eyes. Rich brown with flecks of gold, exactly like his father's, still sparkled with curiosity as he looked up from the book propped on his lap. "Mom, can I have my sketchbook?" he asked as she entered. "I had an idea for a new character." "Of course, sweetheart." Olivia retrieved the worn sketchbook from his backpack, its pages filled with intricate drawings that showed talent far beyond his years. "How are you feeling today?" "Tired. But Dr. Morales says that's normal." He opened the sketchbook, his thin fingers gripping a pencil with surprising strength. "Did you and Dr. Morales have a good talk?" Lucas was perceptive, always had been. She'd never been able to hide her emotions from him. "We did. She's exploring some new treatment options." Olivia settled into the chair beside his bed, watching as he began sketching with practice strokes. "You're worried," he stated, not asking. "I can tell by the crease between your eyebrows." "You only get that when you're really worried, not normal mom worried." Olivia smoothed her expression, attempting a smile. "Just thinking about some things I need to do." Lucas studied her, too wise for his years. "Is it about my father?" The question caught her off guard. They rarely discussed Gabriel. Lucas knew only the basics. His father was a successful businessman who hadn't been in a position to be a parent. "Why do you ask that?" "I heard the nurses talking. They said sometimes parents are the best match for bone marrow." He set down his pencil, his gaze direct and unflinching. "Mom, I know you don't like talking about him, but is my father an option?" Olivia perched on the edge of his bed, choosing her words carefully. "He might be. I haven't spoken to him in a very long time, Lucas. But you know how to find him, right?" Hope flickered in his eyes, and Olivia felt her chest tighten with the weight of her past decisions. "Yes. I know how to find him." "Then you need to call him, Mom." Lucas squeezed her hand with surprising strength. "I'm not ready to die." The simple, brave declaration shattered what remained of her hesitation. "You're not going to die, Lucas. I promise." She kissed his forehead, inhaling the antiseptic hospital smell that had replaced his normal scent of art supplies and the citrus shampoo he loved. "Rest now. I need to make some calls." That evening, after Lucas had fallen asleep, Olivia sat in the small waiting area at the end of the pediatric ward, staring at her phone. The screensaver showed Lucas at his last art show, proudly standing beside a mixed media piece that had won first place in his school district. Everything she did was for him, every sacrifice, every long night working double shifts when her art didn't sell, every careful omission about the father he'd never known. With trembling fingers, she searched for Donovan Tech's corporate number. 3 transfers later, she was stonewalled by an executive assistant with a voice like polished marble. "Mr. Donovan doesn't take unscheduled calls. I can connect you with someone in public relations if this is a media inquiry." "It's not a media inquiry. It's personal and urgent." Olivia took a deep breath, steeling herself. "Please tell him Olivia Abernathy is calling regarding a life-or-death family matter." "Family matter? The assistant's voice turned frosty. I'm not aware of any Abernathy's in Mr. Donovan's family. Just give him the message. Please. I'll add it to his correspondence log. If Mr. Donovan wishes to respond, someone will contact you. Olivia hung up, frustration building behind her eyes. She should have known it wouldn't be easy to reach a man who lived behind layers of gatekeepers. Gabriel had been guarded 13 years ago. His corporate empire had only grown since then. Her phone rang an hour later, an unknown number. Ms. Abernathy. This is Elise Winters, Mr. Donovan's chief of staff. I understand you're trying to reach him on a personal matter. Yes. It's urgent that I speak with him directly. Olivia stood, pacing the small waiting area. Mr. Donovan has a very demanding schedule. Perhaps if you could explain the nature of this family matter. I need to speak with him. Not his staff. I'm afraid that's not how this works. Mr. Donovan has a 12-year-old son who needs a bone marrow transplant, Olivia interrupted, her patience shattering. A son he doesn't know exists because I never told him. A son who might die without his help. Is that explanation sufficient, Ms. Winters? The silence on the other end stretched for several seconds. I'll have Mr. Donovan call you personally within the hour. The woman's voice had lost its bureaucratic edge. 23 minutes later, her phone rang again. Olivia. The deep voice she hadn't heard in 13 years sent an involuntary shiver down her spine. What is this about a child? Gabriel. She closed her eyes, steeling herself. We need to meet in person. It's not a conversation for the phone. I have people who vet these kinds of claims. This isn't a shakedown or a publicity stunt, she cut in sharply. My son, our son, is at Metropolitan Children's Hospital with severe aplastic anemia. He needs a bone marrow transplant, and you're potentially his best match. You can bring whatever lawyers or security you want, but we need to talk. Today. Another lengthy silence followed. I'll be at Metropolitan within the hour. Text this number, the room number. Gabriel hung up without waiting for her response. Looking back at her life with Lucas, Olivia could divide it into distinct chapters. The first had been survival. Learning to be a single mother while finishing her art degree, working 3 part-time jobs, and dealing with morning sickness so severe she'd been hospitalized twice. The second chapter had been stability, finding her footing as an artist while raising a precocious, intelligent child who asked questions about everything, including the father who wasn't there. The third had been flourishing. Watching Lucas grow into a kind, creative boy while her own career finally gained traction with gallery showings and commission pieces. This new chapter had no name yet, only the terrifying uncertainty that had begun 3 months ago with Lucas's unexplained bruising and exhaustion. Returning to his room, she found him asleep, his sketchbook fallen open beside him. The drawing showed a family, a woman with curly hair like hers, a tall man with no distinct face, and a boy between them. Lucas had been drawing variations of this image for years, his imagined complete family. 58 minutes after Gabriel's call, Olivia stood outside Lucas's hospital room as a small entourage approached down the corridor. Gabriel Donovan walked at the center, taller than she remembered, his once boyishly handsome face now more chiseled, dark hair threaded with silver at the temples. He wore a tailored charcoal suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent, his posture radiating the confidence of a man accustomed to controlling every room he entered. Behind him followed a sharp-featured woman in a designer dress and 2 men who screamed security in their stance and vigilant eyes. Olivia. Gabriel stopped a few feet away, his expression unreadable. It's been a long time. 13 years, 2 months, she confirmed quietly. The woman beside him stepped forward. I'm Vivian Reed, Mr. Donovan's fiancée and legal counsel. Before this goes any further, we'll need proof of paternity, Anne. Vivian. Gabriel raised a hand, not taking his eyes off Olivia. Let me handle this. He gestured toward Lucas's room. Is he in there? Yes. He's sleeping. The treatments drain him. Olivia hesitated, suddenly protective of their son's privacy. Gabriel, he doesn't know who you are. I only told him I was contacting his father about being a donor. Something flickered in Gabriel's eyes, hurt. Anger. It passed too quickly to identify. I want to see him first. Then we'll talk. Olivia nodded, leading him into the dimly lit room. Lucas was asleep, his thin frame barely creating a rise in the hospital blankets. The machines around him beeped steadily, monitoring his fragile condition. His drawing pad had fallen to the floor. Gabriel bent to pick it up, his eyes widening slightly as he took in the family portrait. Then his gaze shifted to Lucas, and he froze, his breath audibly catching. Lucas had Gabriel's strong jawline, the same shape to his eyes, the same slight cleft in his chin. Even in sleep, the resemblance was unmistakable. He's mine, Gabriel whispered, not a question but a recognition. Yes. Why didn't you tell me? His voice remained low, but the intensity made Olivia step back. Not here, she murmured, glancing at Lucas. He needs his rest. They stepped back into the hallway, where Vivian and the security team waited with barely concealed impatience. There's a private consultation room down the hall, Olivia offered. 5 minutes later, they sat across from each other at a small table, Vivian at Gabriel's side taking notes on a slim tablet. The security team had been instructed to wait outside, though they looked unhappy about it. Start talking, Gabriel said, his gaze boring into Olivia. She took a deep breath. I found out I was pregnant 3 weeks after you ended things. After you made it abundantly clear that your company was your priority and you had no room in your life for distractions. You were never a distraction, Gabriel countered, a flash of the old warmth in his voice before it hardened again. But you decided for me that I wouldn't want my own child. You told me, and I quote, I can't be what you need right now. Maybe not ever. Building this company is everything to me. What was I supposed to think? You were supposed to tell me I was going to be a father and let me make my own decision. Vivian cleared her throat. Perhaps we should focus on the current situation rather than relitigating the past. Ms. Abernathy, what exactly are you asking of Mr. Donovan? Olivia straightened, gathering her composure. Lucas needs a bone marrow donor. His best chance is a family member who's a genetic match. I'm asking Gabriel to be tested to see if he's compatible. And if he is? Vivian pressed. What then? Financial support? Shared custody? What are your expectations? My only expectation is that he helps save our son's life, Olivia said firmly. Everything else is secondary. Gabriel studied her, his expression softening slightly. What's he like? Lucas. The question caught Olivia off guard. After the accusation and legal talk, she hadn't expected genuine curiosity. He's remarkable. Brilliant, creative. He draws constantly. Detailed worlds he creates in his imagination. Reads everything he can get his hands on. He's quiet but has this dry sense of humor that catches people by surprise. A hint of a smile touched Gabriel's lips. He sounds like you. He has your analytical mind. And your stubbornness. Gabriel leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table. I'll be tested. Today. Whatever he needs. Gabriel, Vivian started, but he cut her off with a look. This isn't negotiable, Viv. He's my son. We should discuss the legal implications. Later. Gabriel turned back to Olivia. What do I need to do? I'll get Dr. Morales. She can explain the testing process and what happens if you're a match. As Olivia stood, Gabriel caught her wrist gently. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. For how things ended between us. I was different then. The contact sent a jolt through her system, memories flooding back of tender moments she tried so hard to forget. Nights spent talking about art and technology, mornings wrapped in sheets and sunlight, promises that had turned out to be as fragile as spun glass. We were both different people, she managed, slipping her wrist from his grasp and leaving to find the doctor. If you're feeling the tension building in this impossible situation, hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. I'd love to know in the comments, what would you do if you were Olivia? Would you have kept such a life-changing secret for so long? Your support helps me bring more of these emotional stories that make us question what we do when faced with impossible choices. 13 years earlier, Olivia Abernathy had been living her dream. At 26, she'd graduated from art school with honors, established a growing reputation for her atmospheric landscape paintings, and secured her first major commission. Creating art installations for the new Donovan Tech headquarters in Seattle. The day she met Gabriel Donovan changed everything. She'd been hanging a large canvas in what would become the executive floor when a voice behind her said, "You've captured exactly what I wanted without me having to explain it." She turned to find herself face to face with Gabriel Donovan himself, the tech wunderkind whose face had been on the cover of Forbes the previous month. At 31, he had already revolutionized data security technology and built a multi-billion-dollar company from scratch. "You must be Mr. Donovan," she said, extending her hand. "Olivia Abernathy. Thank you for the opportunity to create for your space." He'd taken her hand, held it a moment too long. "Please, call me Gabriel. And the pleasure is mine. Your work is extraordinary, emotional yet precise. Not unlike good code." She'd laughed at the unexpected comparison. "I've never had my art compared to programming before. Both require vision, technical skill, and the ability to create something that connects with people on a level they might not fully understand." His eyes, those rich brown eyes with gold flecks that Lucas had inherited, had held hers with intensity. "Would you have dinner with me tonight? I'd love to hear more about your process." She should have said no. Professional boundaries existed for a reason. But something about Gabriel Donovan had drawn her in, his intensity, his passion for innovation, the way he seemed genuinely interested in her artistic perspective. That dinner had led to another, then another. Late nights discussing the intersection of art and technology. Weekend mornings in his penthouse, watching the sun rise over the Seattle skyline while he explained his vision for a world where data belonged to the individuals who created it, not corporations who mined it. Technology should enhance human potential, not exploit it, he told her one evening as they walked along the waterfront. That's what Donovan Tech is building. Tools that protect people's digital sovereignty. She'd fallen in love with his mind first, then his passion, then the vulnerable man beneath the billionaire facade who admitted to her one night that his drive came from growing up with nothing, watching his mother work 3 jobs and still lose their home to predatory lenders. "I want to build systems that protect people," he'd whispered in the dark. "I never want anyone to feel as powerless as we did." For 6 months, they'd existed in a bubble of passion and possibility. He'd introduced her to his world of tech innovators and venture capitalists, she'd taken him to gallery openings and artist studios. They complemented each other, challenged each other, completed each other. Until the bubble burst. The trouble began when a rival tech company threatened a hostile takeover of Donovan Tech. Gabriel's focus narrowed, his availability dwindled. 16-hour workdays became the norm. Their relationship, once central to both their lives, became peripheral to his. "I need you to understand," he told her during one of their increasingly rare dinners together. "The next 6 months will determine the future of everything I've built. I can't divide my attention right now." "I'm not asking you to abandon your company," she'd responded. "I'm asking you to remember that there's more to life than work." The argument had escalated, old wounds and insecurities surfacing. "Not everyone has the luxury of pursuing passion projects, Olivia. Some of us have real responsibilities. My art isn't a passion project. It's my life's work." Just because it doesn't come with $1 billion valuation doesn't make it less valuable. That's not what I meant. Isn't it? You've been dismissing my career for weeks now. Canceling plans when we were supposed to attend my gallery opening. Falling asleep when I talk about new commissions. I'm fighting for the survival of my company. For the jobs of over 1,000 employees. And I'm fighting for us. For some semblance of balance in your life. The final breaking point came on a rainy Seattle evening. Gabriel had cancelled their anniversary dinner, 6 months together, for an emergency board meeting. When he finally arrived at her apartment near midnight, they'd had their last, devastating conversation. I can't do this anymore, Olivia. Gabriel had stood by her window, watching rain streak the glass, his reflection fragmented. I can't be what you need right now. Maybe not ever. Building this company is everything to me. More than us. More than what we could be together. She'd asked, already knowing the answer. Yes. The brutal honesty had cut deeper than any argument. I wish it wasn't true, but it is. You deserve someone who can put you first. That's not me. So that's it. You're choosing Donovan Tech over everything else in your life. I'm choosing the responsibility I have to my employees, my investors, my vision. I'm sorry. Your vision. Olivia had laughed bitterly. You talk about enhancing human potential, but you're letting your own humanity wither for the sake of your company. That's not vision, Gabriel. It's tunnel vision. He'd left her apartment that night, and she'd thought that was the end of their story. She hadn't known that a new life. Lucas's life, had already begun. 3 weeks later, the nausea and mist period had led her to take a pregnancy test. Positive. She'd taken 5 more, hoping for a different result. All positive. Sitting on her bathroom floor, surrounded by plastic test sticks, she'd faced the hardest decision of her life. Tell Gabriel, knowing he had already chosen his company over their relationship. Or forge ahead alone, protecting her child from a father who might see him as an inconvenience at best, an obligation at worst. She'd chosen the latter, a decision that had led directly to this hospital room 12 years later, where the past and present collided with life-altering consequences. 2 hours later, Gabriel had completed the initial testing. Dr. Morales explained they would have preliminary results within 24 hours and complete compatibility profiles within 3 days. If you're a match, the donation process is fairly straightforward but will require several days of preparation, she told Gabriel. We'll need to give you injections to stimulate stem cell production, then collect the cells through a procedure similar to dialysis. Gabriel nodded, absorbing the information. And the success rate for the transplant? With a well-matched donor, particularly a parent, we see good outcomes in about 80% of cases like Lucas's. And without a matched donor? Olivia asked the question she'd been afraid to voice. Dr. Morales's expression grew grave. Without treatment, severe aplastic anemia is fatal, usually within months. With alternative treatments but no transplant, the 5-year survival rate drops significantly. The weight of those words settled over the room. I'll do whatever it takes, Gabriel said firmly. Whatever Lucas needs. After Dr. Morales left, an uncomfortable silence fell between them. I should get back to Lucas, Olivia finally said. He'll be waking soon. Would it be alright if I met him? Gabriel asked, uncharacteristic uncertainty in his voice. Not as his father, just as someone who might help. Olivia hesitated. I don't know if that's a good idea yet. He's very perceptive, and he has your eyes. He might make the connection. Would that be so terrible? A flash of hurt crossed Gabriel's face. Gabriel, he's fighting for his life. I don't want to overwhelm him with life-changing revelations. He nodded reluctantly. You're right. But when he's stronger. I want to know my son, Olivia. Let's focus on making him stronger first. As Olivia walked back to Lucas's room, memories of her first months of pregnancy flooded back. She'd discovered she was pregnant just days after accepting a teaching position at a community arts program. A job that had barely covered her rent but had provided enough stability to consider keeping the baby she hadn't planned. She remembered sitting in her tiny apartment, looking at the positive pregnancy test, weighing her options. Abortion. Adoption. Single motherhood. Telling Gabriel. The last option had been the most terrifying. Not because she feared he would reject her, though that was certainly possible, but because she feared he wouldn't. That he would sweep back into her life with grand plans and corporate efficiency, turning their child into another project to be managed, another asset to be developed. She had seen how Gabriel approached everything in his life, with intensity, control, and a focus on measurable outcomes. She couldn't bear the thought of their child becoming another metric in Gabriel Donovan's portfolio of successes. So she had chosen single motherhood, with all its struggles and joys. She had watched Lucas grow from a colicky infant into a thoughtful toddler who loved to finger paint, then into a serious child who created entire worlds on paper. She had protected him from the potential pain of a father who might have disappointed him, or worse, seen him as an obligation. Now, standing outside Lucas's hospital room, Olivia wondered if she'd made the right choice. Had she protected Lucas, or had she deprived him of a father who might have loved him completely? Had she been selfless, or selfish? Lucas was awake when she entered, scrolling through a digital art program on the tablet Gabriel had unknowingly paid for through the generous divorce settlement he'd insisted on all those years ago. "Mom, check this out." Lucas held up the screen, showing a digital rendering of a futuristic cityscape. "I'm designing a new environment for my story. It's a place where people can transfer consciousness into different bodies when theirs gets sick." The irony of his imaginary solution to illness wasn't lost on Olivia. "It's beautiful, sweetheart. Did you make those calls?" he asked, setting down the tablet. "About my father?" Olivia sat on the edge of his bed. "I did. And? Will he help?" Lucas's eyes, Gabriel's eyes, searched her face anxiously. "He's being tested right now to see if he's a match." Lucas's face lit up with a hope she hadn't seen in weeks. "He's here. At the hospital?" "Yes. Can I meet him?" Olivia hesitated. "Let's wait until we know if he's a match." It's complicated, Lucas. Because you haven't seen him in a long time?" "Yes, and because he didn't know about you until today." Lucas processed this, his expressive face showing a mix of emotions. "He didn't know I exist." "No. Was he mad when you told him?" "He was surprised. But he immediately agreed to be tested. He wants to help you." Lucas nodded slowly. "So he doesn't hate me or anything?" "Oh, sweetheart, no." Olivia took his hand. "No one could ever hate you. Especially not your father." "Then why didn't you tell him about me?" The question was direct, without accusation, simply seeking understanding. Olivia had prepared for this moment, though she'd always imagined it happening years in the future, when Lucas was an adult. Not now, when he was so vulnerable, so dependent on the very man they were discussing. "When your father and I separated, he was building his company, focused entirely on his work. I thought it would be better for everyone if I raised you on my own. But now you need him." Lucas's perceptiveness cut straight to the heart of her discomfort. "Yes. Now we need him." Lucas contemplated this. "What if he's not a match? Then we'll explore other options. Dr. Morales has mentioned some experimental treatments that might help. And if he is a match? Will he be in my life after? Like, as my dad? I don't know, Lucas. That's something we'll all need to figure out together. But right now, the most important thing is getting you well." Lucas nodded, seemingly satisfied with this answer. "Can you hand me my sketchbook?" I want to finish my drawing. As Lucas returned to his art, Olivia marveled at his resilience. Here he was, facing a life-threatening illness, meeting the father he'd never known existed, and his response was to create, to process through art. Just like she had always done. The next morning, Dr. Morales confirmed what they had hoped: Gabriel was a half-match, enough to proceed with the transplant. "We'll need you to start the preparation process immediately," she told Gabriel during their consultation. 5 days of injections, then the collection procedure. "I'll clear my schedule," he said without hesitation. Later that day, as Olivia sat beside Lucas's bed reading aloud from his favorite fantasy novel, a knock interrupted them. Gabriel stood in the doorway, dressed more casually than the day before in dark jeans and a simple button-down shirt. "Sorry to interrupt," he said. "Dr. Morales asked me to come by for my first injection." Lucas looked up curiously. "Are you a patient too?" Gabriel stepped into the room, maintaining a respectful distance. "No. I'm a donor. For someone who needs bone marrow." Lucas's eyes widened. "Are you my donor? The one Mom's been trying to find?" Gabriel glanced at Olivia, who gave a small, reluctant nod. "I might be," he confirmed. "They're testing to see if I'm a good match." Lucas studied him intently. "You look familiar. Have we met before?" "No," Gabriel said softly. "But I'm glad to meet you now. I'm Gabriel." "Lucas." He gestured to the sketchbook in his lap. "I was just drawing. Want to see?" "I'd love to." Olivia watched as Gabriel approached the bed, accepting the sketchbook Lucas offered. For the next 15 minutes, she observed in silence as Lucas explained his intricate drawings of a fantastical city with impossible architecture and strange, beautiful creatures. Gabriel asked thoughtful questions, genuine interest lighting his features as Lucas described the world he'd created. The connection between them was immediate and undeniable, two minds recognizing something of themselves in the other. "You're incredibly talented," Gabriel said, returning the sketchbook. "These are professional quality." Lucas beamed. "Mom says the same thing. She's an artist too. She paints landscapes that look like dreams." Gabriel's eyes met Olivia's over Lucas's head. "I know. I've seen her work. It's extraordinary." The moment was broken by a nurse arriving to administer Gabriel's injection. "I should go," he said, standing reluctantly. "But maybe I could come back tomorrow. See more of your drawings." "Yes, please." Lucas's enthusiasm was the most energy he'd shown in weeks. After Gabriel left with the nurse, Lucas turned to Olivia, his eyes alight with excitement and something deeper, something that made her heart clench. "Mom, is he my father?" The direct question caught her off guard. "What makes you ask that?" "We have the same eyes. Exactly the same. And he kept looking at you like he knows you. Really knows you." Lucas fidgeted with his pencil. "Plus, you've been acting weird ever since you said you were contacting my father about being a donor." Olivia took a deep breath, realizing the moment she'd both dreaded and anticipated had arrived sooner than expected. "Yes, Lucas. Gabriel is your father." Lucas was quiet for a long moment, processing. "Why hasn't he been in our lives? Didn't he want me?" "It's complicated, sweetheart. He didn't know about you until yesterday." "You never told him?" Lucas's brow furrowed. "Why not?" Olivia chose her words carefully. "When I found out I was pregnant, your father and I had already separated. He was building his company, focused entirely on his work. I thought it would be better for everyone if I raised you on my own. But now he knows. Now he knows." Lucas contemplated this. "Is he going to be in our lives now? After the transplant?" "I don't know, Lucas. That's something we'll all need to figure out together. But right now, the most important thing is getting you well. I think I'd like to know him, Lucas said quietly. He seemed to really understand my drawings. As the days of preparation continued, Gabriel visited Lucas every afternoon, ostensibly for his injections but staying for hours to talk about Lucas's art, books, and the video games he enjoyed. Olivia watched their relationship unfold with a mixture of joy and trepidation, seeing the natural bond forming between father and son. Lucas bloomed in Gabriel's presence, showing him years of accumulated artwork and stories, explaining his complex fantasy worlds with the confidence of someone who finally found an audience that truly understood. For his part, Gabriel approached Lucas with a gentleness Olivia had never seen in him before. He listened intently to Lucas's explanations, asked thoughtful questions, and shared his own experiences with creating things people said were impossible. On the fourth day of Gabriel's treatment, Olivia returned from the hospital cafeteria to find Vivian Reed standing outside Lucas's room, arms crossed, her expression stormy. "Ms. Abernathy," she said coolly. "I think we need to discuss the situation." "What situation is that, Ms. Reed?" "The one where my fiancé cancels 3 board meetings and a critical investor presentation to spend time with a child he just learned exists." Vivian's perfectly manicured nails tapped against her silk-clad arm. "I understand the medical necessity, but these extended visits are excessive." Olivia met the woman's gaze steadily. "Gabriel is free to spend as much or as little time with Lucas as he chooses." "Is he?" Vivian arched one perfect eyebrow. "Or is this part of a carefully orchestrated plan? You kept this child's secret for 12 years, then suddenly appear when he's ill, when Gabriel is emotionally vulnerable." "Enough." Gabriel's voice came from behind them. He stood in the doorway to Lucas's room, his expression thunderous. "Vivian, I'll speak with you privately." As they walked away, Olivia could hear the tension in their hushed voices, the clipped tones suggesting an argument that had been brewing for days. She slipped into Lucas's room, finding him sketching as usual, but with a slight frown. "Everything okay, sweetheart?" "That lady doesn't like me," he said without looking up. "She doesn't want Dad to spend time with me." Olivia's heart skipped at hearing Lucas call Gabriel, Dad, for the first time. "It's not about liking you, Lucas. It's about adult complications." "Because she's Dad's fiancée?" "Yes. And she thinks you're trying to take him back or something?" Lucas looked up, his eyes too knowing for his age. "I heard them arguing yesterday when you went to talk to Dr. Morales." Olivia sighed, sitting on the edge of his bed. "The situation is complicated." "It's not complicated," Lucas said with the directness of childhood. "She's jealous. And scared." "Why would she be scared?" "Because Dad lights up when he talks to me. And when he looks at you, he gets this sad look, like he misses something. She's scared of losing him." Lucas returned to his drawing. "But she shouldn't be mean about it." Out of the mouths of babes, Olivia thought. Lucas had summarized in seconds what she'd been trying not to acknowledge for days, the way Gabriel's expression softened when he looked at her, the lingering glances, the careful distance he maintained as if afraid to get too close. When Gabriel returned 20 minutes later, alone, his expression was grim but determined. "I'm sorry about that," he said, closing Lucas's door. "It won't happen again." "Is everything okay?" Olivia asked. "No." He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture so familiar it made her heart ache. "But it will be. Vivian and I, we have different priorities right now. I don't want to cause problems in your relationship, Gabriel." "You're not causing anything. I'm making choices. For the first time in a long time, I'm making choices that aren't about Donovan Tech or market share or investor expectations." He looked at Lucas, who was pretending not to listen. "I'm making choices about what really matters." That evening, after Lucas had fallen asleep and Gabriel had left for his hotel, Olivia sat in the small family lounge, staring out the window at the city lights. The past week had been surreal. Watching Lucas and Gabriel bond, navigating her own complicated feelings about the man she'd once loved, dealing with Vivian's thinly veiled hostility. "Mind if I join you?" She turned to find Gabriel standing in the doorway, holding 2 cups of coffee. "I thought you'd gone for the night." "I came back. Couldn't sleep." He offered her one of the cups. "Still take it with cream, no sugar." "You remembered." She accepted the coffee, surprised by the gesture. "I remember everything about you, Olivia." He sat across from her. "Including how stubborn you are, how fiercely protective. I understand why you didn't tell me about Lucas." "Do you?" She looked at him skeptically. "You were protecting him from disappointment. From a father who'd already proven he would choose work over relationships." Gabriel's expression was solemn. "I'm not saying you were right, but I understand." "I thought I was doing the right thing," Olivia admitted. "I kept telling myself that Lucas was better off without the uncertainty, without the risk of you dropping in and out of his life when it was convenient for you. And now? Now I don't know." She sipped her coffee, finding comfort in its warmth. "Watching you with him these past few days, you're good with him, Gabriel. Better than I expected. He makes it easy. He's extraordinary." Gabriel leaned forward. "Olivia, I want you to know that whatever happens with the transplant, I want to be part of his life going forward. Not just financial support, but really involved. If you'll let me." "What about Vivian? Your company? All those things that were everything to you before?" Gabriel was quiet for a moment. "Vivian and I will be ending our engagement. We've been drifting apart for months, but this situation clarified things for both of us. As for the company," he shrugged, "it will survive. I've built a strong leadership team. It's time I trusted them to do their jobs." "Just like that?" Olivia couldn't keep the skepticism from her voice. 13 years of single-minded focus on your career, and you're changing everything because of 5 days with Lucas? 5 days that showed me what I've been missing." Gabriel's eyes held hers. "What I threw away 13 years ago when I let you walk out of my life." The weight of his words hung between them, loaded with implication and shared history. "Gabriel. I'm not asking for anything, Olivia. I know too much has happened, too much time has passed. But I want you to know that meeting Lucas has changed me. Or maybe it's reminded me of who I was before I let ambition consume everything else." Before she could respond, a nurse appeared in the doorway. "Miss Abernathy. Lucas is asking for you. His fever's up again." Olivia was on her feet immediately, coffee forgotten. "How high?" 101.2, Dr. Morales has been notified." Gabriel followed as she hurried to Lucas's room, where they found him awake, cheeks flushed with fever, a sheen of sweat on his forehead. "Mom." His voice sounded younger, more vulnerable. "I don't feel good." "I know, sweetheart." She sat beside him, pressing her lips to his forehead. "The doctor's coming." "Dad?" Lucas's eyes searched the room until they found Gabriel. "You're still here." "I'm not going anywhere," Gabriel promised, moving to the other side of the bed. Dr. Morales arrived moments later, examined Lucas, and ordered additional medications. "It's not uncommon to see fevers before the transplant," she explained. "His immune system is very fragile right now. We'll monitor him closely overnight, but I don't think this will delay tomorrow's procedure." After she left, Lucas drifted back to sleep, one hand in Olivia's, the other reached out toward Gabriel, who had taken it without hesitation. They sat that way for hours, a family constellation formed from necessity and crisis, yet somehow feeling more right than anything Olivia had experienced in years. "I'm staying tonight," Gabriel said quietly, not a question but a statement of fact. Olivia nodded. They would keep vigil together, united in their concern for the child who connected them, the son who had brought them full circle after 13 years apart. The next morning, Lucas underwent the transplant procedure. Gabriel's cells were infused into his system, a process that took several hours while Olivia and Gabriel waited together, the silence between them no longer tense but companionable, united in their concern for their son. What if it doesn't work? Olivia voiced the fear that had been haunting her. What if his body rejects the transplant? It will work, Gabriel said with the confidence that had built his empire. He's a fighter. Like his mother. And his father, she acknowledged. He gets that determination from both of us. When the procedure was complete, Dr. Morales allowed them into the recovery room. Lucas lay sleeping, connected to even more machines than before, looking impossibly fragile. Now we wait, the doctor told them. The next few days are critical. Watch for signs of rejection or infection. As they settled into the familiar pattern of hospital vigil, Olivia found herself wondering about the future. If Lucas recovered, when Lucas recovered, what would their lives look like? Would Gabriel really be the involved father he promised to be? Would he stay in Seattle or return to his corporate headquarters in San Francisco? And what about her own conflicted feelings for a man she'd spent 13 years trying to forget? The days following the transplant were a blur of hourly vital checks, blood tests, and anxious waiting. Lucas remained in isolation to protect his compromised immune system. The hospital room became their world. Olivia rarely leaving except to shower at the nearby hotel where Gabriel had insisted on booking a room for her, while Gabriel divided his time between Lucas's bedside and the makeshift office he'd set up in a corner of the hospital family lounge. On the third day post-transplant, Lucas's fever spiked to 103.5, sending the medical team into a flurry of activity. Olivia stood pressed against the wall, watching helplessly as nurses added antibiotics to his fore and packed ice around his small body. What's happening? Gabriel appeared in the doorway, his face pale with fear. He'd stepped out for a conference call he couldn't postpone. Possible infection, Dr. Morales said tersely. We're treating aggressively. Olivia felt her knees weaken. Gabriel was beside her instantly, his arm around her waist, supporting her. He's strong, he whispered. He's going to get through this. That night was the longest of Olivia's life. She and Gabriel maintained their vigil, watching Lucas's fever chart like stock traders monitoring a volatile market. Up, down, holding, rising again, each fluctuation carrying the weight of life and death. At dawn, the fever finally broke. Lucas opened his eyes, lucid for the first time in 24 hours. Hi, he whispered, his voice hoarse from the breathing tube they'd inserted as a precaution. Did I scare you? Olivia laughed through tears, squeezing his hand. Just a little. Sorry. Don't apologize, Gabriel said from the other side of the bed. You're doing all the hard work. We just have to wait. Lucas's lips curved into a weak smile. You stayed. Both of you. We're not going anywhere, Olivia promised. Ever, Gabriel added with unexpected intensity. As Lucas drifted back to sleep, Olivia met Gabriel's gaze over their son's bed. Something had shifted between them during the night of crisis, a tentative trust forming in the crucible of shared fear. I meant what I said, Gabriel said quietly. I'm not going anywhere, Olivia. Not this time. Before she could respond, the door opened and Vivian entered. Her normally perfect appearance was slightly disheveled, as if she'd dressed in a hurry. Her gaze took in the scene, Lucas sleeping, Gabriel and Olivia on either side of the bed, and her expression hardened. Gabriel. A word. He followed her into the hallway. Through the partially open door, Olivia could hear snippets of their heated conversation. Third emergency board meeting you've missed. Shareholders are questioning your commitment. Can't just abandon everything you've built. Then Gabriel's voice, low but firm, enough, Vivian. I've made my decision. You're throwing away everything for a woman who lied to you for 12 years. For a child you barely know. I'm choosing to be a father to my son. And what about our future? The plans we made? I'm sorry, Vivian. You deserve someone who can give you what you want. That's not me. Not anymore. When Gabriel returned to the room, his expression was grim but resolute. He met Olivia's questioning gaze with a slight shake of his head, not now. Later that evening, while Lucas was undergoing another round of tests, Gabriel explained the situation. The board is threatening to remove me as CEO, he said matter-of-factly. They claim my extended absence during a critical growth phase constitutes dereliction of duty. Gabriel, that's your company. You built it from nothing. And it will survive without my daily presence. He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture she was beginning to recognize as his tell when stressed. I've appointed Marcus Chen as interim CEO. He's been my COO for 5 years, brilliant, loyal, and shares my vision. The company's in good hands. But you've worked your entire adult life for Donovan Tech. And I missed the first 12 years of my son's life because of it. His gaze was steady. I won't miss any more. Olivia studied his face, searching for signs of the ambitious, work-obsessed man she'd known 13 years ago. Instead, she saw only determination and a new kind of purpose. What about Vivian? That's over. He looked down at his hands. To be honest, it probably should have ended months ago. We wanted different things. I'm sorry. Don't be. Meeting Lucas, seeing what really matters, it's clarified everything. He met her eyes. I know I have no right to ask for another chance with you, Olivia. Too much has happened. But I want you to know that I'm committed to being Lucas's father, whether or not there's a future for us. The sincerity in his voice touched something Olivia had kept carefully guarded for 12 years. She wasn't ready to examine her feelings for Gabriel. Not yet, not with Lucas still fighting for his life, but for the first time, she allowed herself to consider the possibility of a future where they were connected by more than just their son. 1 week post-transplant, Dr. Morales delivered the news they'd been desperately hoping for. The preliminary tests are encouraging, she said, reviewing Lucas's chart. His body is accepting the new cells. The counts are trending in the right direction. So it's working. Olivia's voice trembled with cautious hope. It appears to be, yes. We'll continue monitoring him closely, but these are very positive signs. Lucas's recovery progressed steadily from that point. Each day brought small improvements, more energy, better appetite, clearer eyes. The medical team began discussing discharge planning, cautiously optimistic that he could continue his recovery at home within a few weeks. As Lucas's health improved, he became increasingly curious about his father's life. Did you always want to build computers? He asked Gabriel one afternoon while they were playing chess, a game they discovered they both enjoyed. Not computers specifically, Gabriel replied, moving his knight. I wanted to build things that helped people. Technology was just the means. Like my drawings are for my stories, Lucas said thoughtfully. They're the way I show what's in my head. Exactly. Gabriel smiled at the comparison. What about you? Have you always wanted to be an artist? I like creating worlds more than just art. Mom says I'm a storyteller who happens to use pictures. She's right. You've created an entire universe in that sketchbook. Lucas studied the chessboard, then moved his bishop with strategic precision. Would you have liked me? If you'd known about me before? The question caught Gabriel off guard. Olivia, who'd been reading nearby, looked up sharply. Lucas, that's not, she began, but Gabriel raised a hand. It's a fair question. He leaned forward, making sure he had Lucas's full attention. I would have loved you from the moment I knew you existed. I might not have been a good father right away, I was very focused on my company back then, but I would have tried. And getting to know you would have made me a better person, just like it has now. Lucas nodded, seemingly satisfied with this answer. Check, he said, returning to the game. Gabriel laughed, examining the board. You're good at this. I know. 3 moves until checkmate. That evening, after Lucas had fallen asleep, Olivia found Gabriel on the small terrace outside the pediatric ward, staring at the city lights. That was a good answer, she said, joining him at the railing. About whether you would have liked him. It was the truth. He turned to face her. I understand why you kept him from me, Olivia. I don't like it, but I understand. The man I was then. I might have treated fatherhood like another business acquisition. Something to be managed efficiently rather than experienced fully. And now? Now I know what I missed. What I almost lost without ever knowing I had it. His voice was thick with emotion. These past 2 weeks with Lucas have been the most terrifying and also the most meaningful of my life. He has that effect on people, Olivia said with a small smile. He gets that from you. Gabriel hesitated, then asked the question that had been hovering between them. Where do we go from here, Olivia? When Lucas is discharged, when life starts to go back to normal, what does that look like for us? It was the question she'd been avoiding, partly because she wasn't sure of the answer. I don't know, Gabriel. Lucas will need ongoing medical care, follow-up appointments. He'll be immunocompromised for months. I've been looking at properties in Seattle, he said. Houses near yours, with enough space for when Lucas stays with me. And I've spoken with the board about establishing a permanent remote work arrangement. You're really doing this. Completely rearranging your life. Not rearranging. Rebuilding. Around what matters. He took a step closer. I'm not asking for anything from you, Olivia. Just the chance to be Lucas's father. To make up for the time I missed. And if I'm not ready to trust you again. If I can't forget how easily you walked away before. Then I'll earn that trust back. Day by day, for as long as it takes. He reached for her hand, hesitated, then let his own fall back to his side. I'm not the same man who left you, Olivia. Meeting Lucas, almost losing him before I ever knew him, it's changed me. Olivia studied his face, seeing sincerity in his eyes but still cautious. Let's focus on getting Lucas well first. Then we'll figure out the rest. 3 weeks later, Lucas was discharged from the hospital. His recovery would continue at home, with frequent outpatient visits to monitor his progress. As they packed up the drawings, books, and games that had accumulated in his hospital room, Lucas looked around thoughtfully. It's weird to leave, he said. I almost don't remember what home feels like. It might feel different for a while, Olivia acknowledged. But we'll make it comfortable. And your dad will visit often. Actually, Gabriel said, entering with the last of Lucas's belongings, I was hoping to discuss something with both of you. He sat on the edge of the bed, facing them. I've rented a house a few blocks from yours, Olivia. It's furnished and ready, but it's pretty empty. I was wondering if Lucas might help me decorate it. Maybe spend some afternoons there when he's feeling up to it. Lucas's eyes lit up. Could I have my own room? For when I stay overnight sometimes. Gabriel looked to Olivia, deferring to her judgment. If your mom agrees, yes. Absolutely. We can discuss it, Olivia said cautiously. Once you're stronger and the doctors approve. And I was thinking, Gabriel continued, that maybe we could convert one of the rooms into an art studio. With proper ventilation for paints, a large drafting table, good light. For me? Lucas asked, excitement building. For both of you, Gabriel said, his eyes meeting Olivia's. I know you've been working from your dining room table since Lucas got sick. Maybe having a dedicated studio space would help. The gesture touched Olivia deeply, not just the consideration for Lucas, which she expected, but the thoughtfulness toward her own needs, her art. It showed an understanding of her that she hadn't anticipated. That's very generous, she said carefully. It's not generosity. It's wanting to be part of your lives. Both of you. The day Lucas came home marked the beginning of a new chapter. Their modest apartment was transformed by Gabriel's quiet interventions. A hospital-grade air purifier appeared, along with a more comfortable bed for Lucas, a specialized computer for his digital art, and meal deliveries that freed Olivia from cooking during those exhausting early weeks. Gabriel visited daily, sometimes staying for hours, sometimes just dropping by to share a meal or help with homework. He never pushed, never overstepped, but his consistent presence gradually became a fixture in their lives. One evening, about 2 months after the transplant, Olivia found Lucas and Gabriel huddled over Lucas's sketchbook at the dining room table. "What are you two plotting?" she asked, setting down the groceries she'd just brought in. "Dad's helping me turn my story into a real graphic novel," Lucas explained excitedly. "He knows a publisher who might be interested." "Actually," Gabriel said, entering with the last of Lucas's belongings, "I was hoping to discuss something with both of you." He sat on the edge of the bed, facing them. "I've rented a house a few blocks from yours, Olivia. It's furnished and ready, but it's pretty empty. I was wondering if Lucas might help me decorate it. Maybe spend some afternoons there when he's feeling up to it." Lucas's eyes lit up. "Could I have my own room? For when I stay overnight sometimes." Gabriel looked to Olivia, deferring to her judgment. "If your mom agrees, yes. Absolutely. We can discuss it," Olivia said cautiously. "Once you're stronger and the doctors approve. And I was thinking," Gabriel continued, "that maybe we could convert one of the rooms into an art studio. With proper ventilation for paints, a large drafting table, good light." "For me?" Lucas asked, excitement building. "For both of you," Gabriel said, his eyes meeting Olivia's. "I know you've been working from your dining room table since Lucas got sick. Maybe having a dedicated studio space would help." The gesture touched Olivia deeply, not just the consideration for Lucas, which she expected, but the thoughtfulness toward her own needs, her art. It showed an understanding of her that she hadn't anticipated. "That's very generous," she said carefully. "It's not generosity. It's wanting to be part of your lives. Both of you." The day Lucas came home marked the beginning of a new chapter. Their modest apartment was transformed by Gabriel's quiet interventions. A hospital-grade air purifier appeared, along with a more comfortable bed for Lucas, a specialized computer for his digital art, and meal deliveries that freed Olivia from cooking during those exhausting early weeks. Gabriel visited daily, sometimes staying for hours, sometimes just dropping by to share a meal or help with homework. He never pushed, never overstepped, but his consistent presence gradually became a fixture in their lives. One evening, about 2 months after the transplant, Olivia found Lucas and Gabriel huddled over Lucas's sketchbook at the dining room table. "What are you two plotting?" she asked, setting down the groceries she'd just brought in. "Dad's helping me turn my story into a real graphic novel," Lucas explained excitedly. "He knows a publisher who might be interested." "It's extraordinary work," Gabriel added. "The story structure, the world building, it deserves to be seen." "Can I see?" Olivia asked, curious about this project she hadn't heard about. Lucas hesitated, uncharacteristically shy. "It's different from my usual stuff. It's about a boy who gets sick," Gabriel explained gently. "And discovers he has a superpower, the ability to heal himself by connecting with his lost father's energy." "Oh." Olivia sat down, understanding the thinly veiled autobiography. "That sounds powerful." "It's how I've been processing everything," Lucas admitted. "Dad says sometimes art is how we make sense of the hard stuff." "Dad is right." Olivia met Gabriel's gaze, acknowledging this piece of wisdom he'd shared with their son. "Art has always been how I process things too." "Like your absence series," Gabriel said quietly. Olivia looked at him in surprise. "How do you know about that?" "I followed your career, Olivia. Every gallery show, every review. Your exploration of negative space, the way you paint what's missing rather than what's there, it's brilliant. The revelation that Gabriel had kept track of her work all these years unsettled her. She'd assumed he'd forgotten her completely, moved on to his tech empire and society fiancé without a backward glance. I have a show next month, she found herself saying. At the Westlake Gallery. My first solo exhibition since Lucas got sick. We'll be there, Gabriel said immediately. Right, Lucas? Definitely. First row. The easy way they included each other, the natural father-son dynamic that had developed over the past months, it warmed Olivia's heart even as it confused her. She was still holding Gabriel at arm's length emotionally, still protecting herself from the man who'd broken her heart once before. But watching him with Lucas made that distance increasingly difficult to maintain. The night of Olivia's gallery opening arrived on a rainy Seattle evening. The Westlake Gallery was packed with art critics, collectors, and fellow artists, all there to see her new collection titled Regeneration, works inspired by Lucas's illness and recovery. Lucas attended for the first hour, handsome in a suit Gabriel had helped him choose, proudly standing beside his mother as she spoke with patrons. When he began to tire, Gabriel's driver took him home where Mrs. Jimenez, their neighbor who often helped with childcare, was waiting. With Lucas safely home, Olivia was free to fully engage with the art world she'd neglected during his illness. She circulated through the gallery, discussing techniques and inspirations, accepting congratulations on what the Seattle Arts Review had already called a triumphant return. She was deep in conversation with a museum curator when she sensed Gabriel's presence nearby. He stood before her largest canvas, a swirling landscape of cellular patterns in blues and golds, titled Transplant. Excusing herself, she joined him. What do you think? It's us, he said softly. You, me, Lucas. Our cells, our connections. Yes. She was surprised by his immediate understanding. Most viewers saw only the scientific inspiration, not the deeply personal meaning. It's beautiful, Olivia. All of it is. You've transformed pain into something transcendent. He turned to face her. I'm so proud of you. The simple sincerity of his words touched something deep inside her. For 13 years, she'd carried on alone, building her career while raising their son, never hearing words of pride or appreciation from the man she'd once loved. Thank you for coming tonight, she said. It means a lot to Lucas. And to you. His question was gentle, not pushing, just asking. Yes, she admitted. To me too. Later, after the last patrons had left and the gallery owner had congratulated her on selling 8 pieces, including Transplant, to an anonymous buyer, Olivia found herself walking with Gabriel along the rain-slicked streets. I bought Transplant, he confessed as they strolled. I hope that's okay. I wanted Lucas to have it someday, to understand how you saw our connection. That's lovely, actually. She smiled at the thought of her art becoming a family legacy. Thank you. They walked in comfortable silence for a while, sharing an umbrella, close but not touching. Olivia, Gabriel finally said, stopping under a streetlight that illuminated the rain in silver streaks around them. I need to ask you something. She turned to face him, struck by the vulnerability in his expression. These past months, being part of Lucas's life, seeing you every day. It's been the happiest I've ever been. He took a deep breath. I know I hurt you. I know I chose wrong 13 years ago. But I'm asking if there's any chance for us. Not just as Lucas's parents, but as us. The question hung between them, rain pattering on the umbrella, distant traffic creating a gentle soundtrack to this moment she'd never expected to face. I'm scared, Gabriel, she admitted. Not just of being hurt again, but of disrupting what we've built for Lucas. He's been through so much. I know. And his well-being comes first, always. Gabriel's eyes held hers. But I see how he lights up when we're together, the three of us. Children are perceptive, he senses the connection between us, even when we try to hide it. And what about your company? Your life in San Francisco? The board already threatened to remove you once. The Seattle office is fully operational now. I'm here permanently, regardless of what happens between us. His voice was steady with conviction. I've restructured my role to focus on innovation and strategy, which I can do from anywhere. Marcus is handling the day-to-day operations. The board has accepted the new arrangement. Olivia studied his face, seeing not the ambitious young CEO who'd once chosen his company over their relationship, but a man transformed by fatherhood, by nearly losing a son he'd just found. I can't jump into anything, Gabriel. There's too much history, too much at stake. I'm not asking you to jump. Just to open the door a little. Let me take you to dinner. Just us, talking, remembering why we connected in the first place. The proposition was tempting. Despite everything, despite 13 years of absence and the pain of their breakup, there was still a pull between them, a connection that transcended their shared parenthood. One dinner, she agreed. We'll start there. His smile lit up his face, making him look younger, more like the Gabriel she'd first fallen in love with. That's all I'm asking for. A start. As they continued walking toward her apartment, Olivia felt something shift inside her, a wall beginning to crumble, a door starting to open. She wasn't ready to trust completely, not yet. But for the first time in 13 years, she was willing to consider the possibility. The next 6 months brought changes both subtle and profound. Lucas continued to recover, his strength returning, his immune system gradually rebuilding. By spring, he was able to return to school part-time, his classmates welcoming back the quiet artist with enthusiastic acceptance. Gabriel's house became a second home for both Lucas and Olivia. The art studio he'd created became their shared sanctuary, Lucas working on his graphic novel, Olivia exploring new techniques and mediums. Sometimes Gabriel would sit with them, not creating but observing, asking questions, learning about their artistic processes. Their one dinner led to another, then another. Coffee after Lucas's doctor appointments. Walks along the waterfront while Lucas was at school. Slowly, cautiously, they rediscovered each other, not as the people they'd been 13 years ago, but as the adults they'd become, shaped by separate journeys that had somehow led them back to each other. You're different, Olivia observed one evening as they sat on Gabriel's deck, watching the sunset while Lucas was inside video chatting with a school friend. More patient. Less driven. Having everything you thought you wanted and still feeling empty changes a person, he replied. The company, the success, the recognition, none of it filled the void. I just didn't understand what was missing until I met Lucas. And now? Now I know that legacy isn't about corporate achievements or wealth. It's about the impact you have on the people you love. He looked at her, the setting sun painting his face in gold. It's about the kind of father I am to Lucas, the kind of man I am to you. Olivia felt the last of her resistance melting away. Over these months, Gabriel had proven himself not with grand gestures or promises, but with consistent presence, with respect for her boundaries, with genuine interest in her art and her perspective. I think I'm falling in love with you again, she admitted softly. Or maybe with you for the first time, this version of you. Gabriel reached for her hand, intertwining their fingers. I never stopped loving you, Olivia. I just forgot how to prioritize that love over everything else. I won't make that mistake again. From the doorway came a theatrical cough. They turned to find Lucas standing there, a knowing smile on his face. Don't mind me, he said with exaggerated casualness. Just getting some water. Carry on with whatever you were doing. As he disappeared back inside, they both laughed, the tension broken by their son's not-so-subtle approval. He's been dropping hints for months, Olivia said. About how nice it would be if we were officially a family. Smart kid. Gabriel squeezed her hand. What do you think? Are we heading in that direction? I think, Olivia said carefully, that we're creating something new. Not trying to recapture what we had before, but building something stronger, more balanced. I like that. Gabriel smiled. Building something together, it's what we've always done best. 1 year to the day after Lucas's transplant, they gathered in Dr. Morales's office for his comprehensive follow-up examination. The tension was palpable as they waited for the results, Lucas sitting between them, holding both their hands. Dr. Morales entered with a broad smile. The results are excellent. Blood counts normal, immune function continuing to improve, no signs of relapse or rejection. Lucas, you've officially beaten this thing. The relief was overwhelming. Olivia found herself crying, Gabriel's arm around her shoulders, Lucas beaming with pride at his own accomplishment. Does this mean I can go on the school camping trip next month? Lucas asked, ever practical. Dr. Morales laughed. Let's discuss some reasonable precautions, but yes, I think that should be possible. Later, as they celebrated with dinner at Lucas's favorite restaurant, Olivia watched her son and his father engaged in an animated discussion about the latest technology Gabriel was developing, a virtual reality platform for children in long-term hospital care. It would let kids like me explore and create even when they're stuck in bed, Lucas was explaining excitedly. Dad's letting me help design the interface. That sounds amazing, Olivia said, genuinely impressed with the concept. It was Lucas's idea, Gabriel admitted. I'm just providing the resources to make it happen. We're partnering with Children's Hospital to test the prototype next month. Olivia raised an eyebrow. Dad made me official creative director for the project, Lucas said proudly. With compensation and everything. Paid in art supplies and books, Gabriel clarified with a smile. We have a contract. The easy partnership between them, the way Gabriel respected Lucas's creative input while providing guidance and structure, it was everything Olivia had ever wanted for her son. A father who valued him for exactly who he was, who nurtured his talents without trying to reshape him into something else. After dinner, they walked along the waterfront, Lucas running ahead to watch a street performer, giving them a moment alone. I have something for you, Gabriel said, reaching into his pocket. A gift to mark the 1-year milestone. He handed her a small velvet box. Inside was not a ring, as she'd momentarily feared, but a pendant. A delicate gold triangle with 3 interlocking circles. It's us, he explained. 3 separate individuals, connected, forming something stronger together. It's beautiful, she whispered, touching it gently. Like our family. He took the necklace and fastened it around her neck. I know we're still finding our way, Olivia. I know trust takes time to rebuild. But I want you to know that I'm committed to this, to us, to Lucas, to the family we're becoming. I know you are. She turned to face him. I see it every day in how you've rearranged your life, how you put Lucas first, how you respect my independence. And my company survives without my constant attention, he added with a smile. Turns out I built something more resilient than I realized. Like our son, Olivia said, watching Lucas laugh at the performer's antics. Resilient beyond what should be possible. Like his mother. Gabriel's hand found hers. The most resilient person I've ever known. That night, after they'd tucked Lucas into bed in his room at Gabriel's house, now filled with his artwork, books, and the comfortable clutter of a well-loved space, Olivia made a decision she'd been considering for weeks. I've been thinking about your offer, she said as they sat in the living room, the fire casting warm light across the space. About moving in. Gabriel looked up, hope in his eyes but careful not to press. And I think it's time. Not just for Lucas's sake, but for us. This back and forth between 2 houses, it's becoming impractical. Are you sure? I don't want you to feel rushed. I'm sure. She smiled at his caution. The past year has shown me who you are now, the father you've become to Lucas, the partner you've been to me. I'm ready to take the next step. The joy that spread across Gabriel's face was worth any lingering doubts she might have had. He crossed the room and knelt before her, taking her hands in his. Olivia Abernathy, you are the most extraordinary woman I've ever known. You raised our son alone, built a successful career, and faced his illness with unimaginable courage. I don't deserve this second chance, but I promise to spend every day making sure you never regret giving it to me. She leaned forward and kissed him, a kiss 13 years in the making, bridging the gulf of time and misunderstanding that had separated them. I don't believe in deserving, she said softly. I believe in choosing. And I choose this, us, our family, the life we're building together. 6 months later, they stood together in the backyard of what was now their home, watching Lucas demonstrate his latest invention to the gathered guests, a combination of virtual reality and traditional art that allowed the viewer to step inside his created worlds. It's a metaphor, he explained to his captivated audience, mostly Gabriel's colleagues and Olivia's artist friends. About how illness makes you feel trapped in your body, but imagination can set you free. He's going to change the world, Gabriel murmured to Olivia. Just not in the way I would have expected. He already has changed our world, she replied, leaning into his embrace. As the party continued around them, Olivia reflected on the journey that had brought them here. From that terrible day in Dr. Morales's office when she'd learned Lucas needed a transplant, to this moment of celebration and possibility. What had begun as her greatest fear, contacting Gabriel, revealing the son she'd kept secret, had become the catalyst for healing not just Lucas's body, but their fractured family. Penny for your thoughts, Gabriel said, noticing her contemplative expression. I was just thinking about choices, she said. How sometimes the hardest ones lead to the greatest gifts. Like your choice to call me that day at the hospital. And your choice to drop everything and come. Best decision I ever made. He kissed her temple. Though agreeing to marry me next spring might be a close second. She laughed, touching the simple engagement ring that had replaced the pendant on their second anniversary of Lucas's transplant. That wasn't a hard choice at all. Across the yard, Lucas caught their eye and gave them a thumbs up, his health fully restored, his future bright with possibility. He was their miracle, the son who had nearly been lost twice, first to Olivia's protective secret, then to the disease that had threatened his life. Now he stood strong and vibrant, the living bridge between them, the reason they had found their way back to each other. Mom. Dad. Come see what happens when I add the new coding sequence. Lucas called, eager to share his latest breakthrough. Hand in hand, they crossed the yard toward their son, stepping together into the future they were creating, one choice, one day, one moment of grace at a time. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like and subscribe to my channel. I'd love to know in the comments, have you ever experienced a moment when what seemed like your greatest challenge became your greatest blessing? Your support helps me create more stories that remind us how life's most difficult choices often lead us exactly where we need to be.